Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays. How you doing,
So
Lauren?
we've got some stormy skies in Houston, so I've got my video off and I hope my Wi-Fi bears with me. But other than that, I'm doing great. How about you?
Well, I'm glad May is here in Minnesota. We're finally getting to spring. It's not quite hot yet by any stretch, but we're getting some blooms and green grass and things that make it feel a whole lot better.
I'm sure you're ready for that.
I am. And May Day is supposed to be kind of that celebration of all that stuff anyway, right? The April
Exactly.
showers are bringing the May flowers, as they say.
Yep. Well,
Well,
I
what do you
have a
got for a
dad.
joke?
It's along the lines of what you were just saying. So, why is the letter A like a flower?
A like a flower. All right, what is it?
Because a bee comes after it.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Yeah, do you have a
Uh,
joke for me?
of course. So, since it's still a little chilly around here, what is the best place to go in your house if you're feeling a little chilly?
Hmm. I
Gotta
don't
go.
know. You got me.
You, you just gotta go stand in the corner because it's always 90 degrees there.
That might be your best one yet.
All
Give it.
right, there we go. There we go. Well, let's dig into what's going on in Power Platform first.
Right.
So, the first thing I wanted to call out is we are leaning into Playwright being the fantastic engine that it is with a bunch of samples for Power Platform assets that will help you use Playwright to test out the functionality of your apps or your agents or your websites or things like that. So I think this is pretty cool that we've got these samples that make leveraging Playwright much easier in those scenarios. So take advantage and use Playwright to do your testing. I think this next one is a glimpse into the future. And I am so excited that we now have it in preview. I have not tested this one yet. It sounds so cool. Essentially, what we have said is because we can make an MCP server out of a Power App, and now we've got some other sort of code tools that make it pretty easy to give it some instructions and stitch some other things together. That if you've got your Power App, right now I think it's model driven app only, is that you can generate that MCP server and then have AI generate a nice widget and you package that up and you upload that into M365 Copilot. And then as you're having a conversation with the agent in M365 Copilot, it can render all of these really cool UI widgets to display different things right in that design canvas of the M365 Copilot to make the user experience really kind of come to life around all the data and the things that your app surfaces to help get through, the business process or whatever it is. So um, I think this is a great tool. I am a little skeptical that I'm going to have the chops to just go make it shine right out of the gate, but those AI coding tools have gotten really good. So I guess we'll find out how good they would be with giving them some cool instructions and saying, given this MCP server and that app, go make me this custom widget that will render and do some awesome things. Anyway, I'm excited to try that one of these days soon. Next thing up is in Power Pages. For quite some time, we have had the ability to link into SharePoint for documents, and I think we can even use SharePoint lists for some of the data if we need to at this point too. And that we are now allowing you to get a lot more scoped with sites and content and least privilege security principles to allow you to render SharePoint data on your Power Page with more confidence and less risk. So I thought that was a nice update. If you are trying to decide which of the platform building or which of the platforms Microsoft gives you to build agents with is right for your business use case. We have had for a while this platform advisor that the CAT team put together, but they updated it considerably recently. And so I just wanted to make sure and give people a link to say, look, you can just use this, answer a few questions, and it'll spit out a recommendation of which tool to use. I'm not convinced that it's perfect, but it is a whole lot better than having to figure it out and learn a whole bunch of details about each of those platforms before you can even make an informed decision, especially if you're trying to leverage the citizen developer concept in your organization, having this be one of the tools in the tool belt to say, before you get started, just click on this, answer the questions, and it will hopefully guide you into the right platform to get started in so that you're not spending a whole bunch of time in that paralysis of analysis stage. In Copilot Studio, we have now gone generally available with the real-time voice APIs to allow you to build really responsive conversational agents that are meant to be called like through a telephony scenario today. That's the real use case, is putting it onto like an Azure Communication Services or Teams phone endpoint so that it has its own phone number. And when people call it, it's basically the interactive voice response system to interact with whoever calls. And we've got the ability to, escalate to a human if people don't get the answers that they want out of the agent that you build. But it is a very slick, it's very human-like in the way it responds, and you interrupt it and it kind of works just like a human would if you would interrupt them. It doesn't get all discombobulated the way agents in the past would. Now, we have also said, as you kind of look through this, that we are starting out in Teams phone and in our contact center, which relies on Azure Communication Services, but we are planning to bring this real-time voice capability to our digital apps and various channels to allow real-time voice conversation with more of something that you would just surface in M365 Copilot, kind of the way you can interact with it with voice to give your agents the same ability without having to type in a lot of different scenarios. So I'm excited about what this has for a roadmap as well as what we just brought out. And then if you are building Copilot Studio agents and you are using dev test prod type ALM scenarios, this is a big add that we just came out with in preview, and that's the ability to use environment variable values and add that to the name of your Copilot so that it will render the appropriate suffix on the name of your agent depending on which environment you're in based on the environment variable values you put in there. But so that as you publish it, especially for the people who are testing it, they know which one is the dev version, which one is the QA or test version, and which one is the production version of those agents that all had the same name previously because you were building them and promoting them without changing that name manually everywhere, as you should. So this is a big deal, I think, and I'm glad we've got it out. So that's it for Power Platform. In the customer engagement stack, again, most of the stuff that's in here relates back to our contact center capability that we're promoting, but there's some pretty good stuff out here, so let's cover it. The first thing is we are now shipping a service operations agent. And the whole idea behind this agent as part of our kind of customer service contact center functionality is that it is complicated to set up a contact center scenario where you're setting up the work streams and the queues and the rules for routing and all the other things that go on. And now this contact center operations agent is one that you can basically say, I am onboarding web chat as a channel. I've got these 30 people that I would like to handle it, and I want to do routing in this kind of pattern. And you just give it those quick instructions and it will go set up the platform to do all that stuff. And you can use natural language to then tweak settings as well. So service operation agent, pretty nice enhancement there. And then kind of along with that, we kind of talked a little bit about in your contact center, you've got several different agents at your disposal that are already there as a SaaS service when you procure the license. The first of those agents is the customer assist agent. And this is meant to be like customer facing, that you could put it in front of your web chat. You can put it as your IVR and just give it instructions. And it is using the real-time voice capabilities for the voice channel. And you can configure it pretty quickly to be that kind of when people are starting to interact with your organization, the self-service option through this customer-facing customer assist agent. And of course, that agent, no matter which channel you're in, has the ability to fall back to a human and put that conversation into the queue where it gets routed to a customer service rep pretty easily. And this one is a generally available agent. Then we have the quality assurance agent that is just kind of looking over all the various things that are going on in your contact center and trying to surface anomalies, improvement capabilities, things that a manager might want to check in with about one of their customer service reps. Do we need different knowledge? That all that kind of stuff is all in there in this quality assurance agent that will just try to help you continuously improve how your contact center operates. And then talked about that service operation agent again that I already talked about. So I think this was fun to see that we're agentifying contact centers more and more. And of course, there's the case closure agent, and there's all sorts of agents helping you sort of monitor what your responses should be if you are a CSR. They're a little bit more helpful for the individual CSR, and these other ones are a little bit more big picture across the contact center. So anyway, lots of good stuff in there. We have also introduced a governance layer in the contact center. And what this is, as of right now anyway, is a way to set up a bunch of kind of, I don't want to call them rules, but things that you would like for this to control about outbound communications. And it's going to look to see if the content of what's about to be communicated is accurate and in a friendly tone, and is it relevant, and some of those other kind of things. And it's email only as we start. We'll spread it out across channels as it gets closer and closer to, or probably when it goes generally available. And you get to set up sort of the rules and the norms and whatever you have from a compliance standpoint that you need to make sure it's paying attention to, and that you just get to give it natural language policy authoring things, and it will watch every outbound email that is coming through the contact center interface, and making sure, regardless of whether that was generated by AI and some of our autonomous capability, or whether it's generated by a CSR, all emails coming out will go through this engine and make sure that it is kind of staying compliant and give you governance controls. So I thought that was pretty slick. Last one is, for quite some time, we have had call recording and other things that are trying to help you understand the quality of what's going on when your CSRs are interacting with the people that they're interacting with. Chat transcripts and all that kind of stuff have been out there for a while. Well, we have just introduced unified screen recording that will marry up with the call recording or the chat transcript, so that you can not only understand what the actual conversation was, whether it's voice or text based, but what the agent was clicking on and doing and pulling up on their screens, and where things were slow, where did they make missteps in how they clicked, how could we make their experience more streamlined to get their job done, not just how did they deliver the experience. So I think this should be a super helpful thing in making sure that the contact centers of the future are more and more effective over time. And that is the content that I brought forward for this fortnight. So I think I'm ready to flip it over to you, Lauren, to take it over.
Pretty cool stuff. All right. So I'm going to be entirely focusing on the 2026 release wave 1. I'm going to go through each section here. I know I talked about some of this last week, but focusing on this content from our Learn documentation. Starting off here with project ops. So, in this wave, the focus is on improving planning, financial flexibility, and really the overall usability, especially in the modern architecture and project ops. So, with planning, there's going to be better what if scenario modeling so you can test different project approaches before committing. You can also get a more global view of resource assignments and more granular availability so you can understand, what's actually available, and this will help staffing across projects. Then on the financial side, we're adding support for things like change orders and subscription billing, which is really important for services organizations with evolving project scopes or recurring revenue models. There's also going to be better support for item consumption and reservations tied to projects. So, helping with tracking project costs more accurately as things are received and used. Then quote budgeting and contract management experiences are also getting a bit cleaner and easier to use. So less friction up front when you're trying to scope and sell work. Then mobile expense management is improving, and users are going to get better visibility into their bookings and assignments across all of their projects. And then there's also continued investment in moving customers from the legacy PMA model to the modern architecture, which is really about performance, scale, and a more unified experience. Then next, human resources. So in this wave, the focus is on making HR more intelligent and less manual, especially across recruiting and onboarding. So starting with recruiting, we're adding things like offer management and e-signature support, plus tighter LinkedIn integration, better collaboration with external agencies. So the whole sourcing to offer process becomes a lot more streamlined without disrupting existing workflows. Onboarding is also getting a big improvement, better experiences for both HR managers and employees, plus more support for pre-onboarding. And then from offer acceptance to day one, it's going to be a smoother transition and better employee experience overall. And then one of the more interesting cross-app updates is tighter integration with project operations. So now things like time entry and resource bookings actually factor in leave and absences, which improves accuracy, planning, and delivery. And then from an insight standpoint, HR is getting more visibility through BPA. And then on the core HR side, there's continued improvements across benefits, learning, personnel management, and performance, just really helping standardize processes, reduce manual overhead. Then next in commerce. So in this wave, the focus is on improving B2B experiences, tightening order management, making store associates more effective. So starting with B2B, we now support multi-outlet ordering with a single sign-on. So buyers can manage multiple locations, place orders, track everything from one place, which really helps reduce errors, makes the experience a lot smoother. There's also stronger credit management, factoring in open orders and balances to control risk and avoid bad debt. And then on the order management side, orders can now be edited across channels. So something started in the call center can actually be updated in store at point of sale. And you also get better control at point of sale for things like non-returnable items, helping with compliance and store policies. Then for store associates, assisted selling is getting a modern refresh. There's going to be cleaner workflows, easier product discovery, less training required, which ultimately helps drive more sales. Then inventory visibility is another big one. Associates can now check stock across stores, even if they're across legal entities. So, if something's out of stock locally, they can still find it elsewhere and complete the sale. Then on pricing, we have more flexible attribute-based pricing strategies. So instead of managing prices one by one, you can actually apply rules across products, customers, and scenarios. And then, of course, AI is showing up here too, with Copilot helping associates access product and customer insights in real time. So faster decisions at checkout, better recommendations, higher conversion rates. Then next, BC. So the big theme here is moving towards AI-driven ERP. I've talked about this in our last sessions, but instead of just recording transactions, the system's actually helping users analyze, decide, and take action with AI agents. And these can now handle more end-to-end processes, things like payables, reading invoices, matching vendors, prepping approvals automatically. On the finance side, AI is helping with things like document recognition, categorization, and approvals. So faster processing, fewer errors, better control. And then we're also investing in operations in BC, especially when it comes to manufacturing and supply chain. So things like subcontracting, quality management are getting stronger, better to handle more complex production scenarios, and integrations like Shopify are improving. So better visibility across sales, inventory, operation. And then on the platform side, there's some pretty steady improvement in performance, reporting and governance. So better analytics and reporting. This is really going to help with better, faster insights, improvements in compliance, et cetera, help organizations operate globally. And then sustainability is becoming a bigger part of the story too, with built-in tools to track emissions, waste, and environmental impact right inside BC, which is a great segue to our updates in uh, our sustainability manager. So in this next wave, we're tightening things up in a few key areas, reporting calculations and overall usability. On the reporting side, navigation and search are way more intuitive, and the standards structure is cleaner, so it's a lot easier to understand requirements and actually prepare disclosures. On calculations, you can now run multiple calculation versions. So let's say you want to test different methodologies or factor libraries. You can do that without messing up your core data. There's also going to be better control over reporting periods. So you can lock data at different levels once you're ready to submit. You're not going to have accidental changes there. And then one of the bigger updates is tying sustainability data into finance, specifically with a new green ledger view. So you can now start looking at financial and sustainability data side by side, which is where a lot of our customers want to go. Then from a platform perspective, a bunch of stuff is moving out of preview into GA, including better data collection, audit trail, advanced calculation models. Plus, you're going to see Copilot showing up a lot more. All right. Next, D365 Finance. Here we're really doubling down around scaling, automation, and flexibility. And a big focus here is multi-entity and faster close. So making it a lot easier to manage complex org structures and shortened period and timelines. We're going to see a lot more agent-driven automation, really letting the system take on repetitive finance tasks. And then on the compliance side, e-invoicing is getting more flexible with a unified integration framework. So it's going to be a lot easier to adapt to different country requirements without re-engineering everything. Financial journals are continuing to evolve, giving users a lot more flexibility to model and automate complex finance processes that actually are going to match how your business operates. Um, and then we also have support for rental-based business models. So if you're dealing with asset-heavy or usage-based revenue, you can now properly track assets, revenue, and financials inside finance. Then next, supply chain. Here, the focus is on planning smarter, improving supplier collaboration, and better optimizing warehouse execution. So, starting with demand planning, we now are going to get better visibility into how pricing actually impacts demand. So, instead of planning demand and pricing separately, you can actually start to align those decisions and drive both revenue and inventory efficiency. And then on the supply side, planning gets more reliable with better protection of confirmed, capable to promise dates. So, once you've committed to a delivery, the system is going to help preserve that, which is huge for customer trust. Supplier collaboration is another big one here. The supplier communication agent is expanding. It's now going to support Excel attachments and more direct interaction inside the system. Also more extensibility. So you can actually tailor supplier communications to your actual business processes instead of forcing a one size fits all model. And then stepping up a level, supplier engagement gets stronger with things like supplier qualification tracking, a full 360 view of suppliers, and a new supplier portal. I'm really excited about that. So really about building more strategic, transparent supplier relationships. Then on the warehouse side, this is where we're seeing a lot of intelligence come in. You've got smarter picking routes to reduce travel time, AI-driven inventory rebalancing, and even support for hands-free wearable scanning devices. And then last year, one second. Stepping back to cross-app opportunities, this is the stuff that cuts across all finance and ops apps. So finance, supply chain, HR, project ops, everything. And this wave, the big theme here is Copilot and AI, building out those agentic experiences across the entire ecosystem. So starting with AI, we're enhancing the MCP, which is basically going to improve how these agents understand and interact with your business data. We're also seeing tighter integration with Copilot with M365. So now you can interact with F&O data directly through familiar tools like Teams, Outlook, and Excel. Immersive Home is now generally available. We've seen this is a more modern AI-driven workspace that helps users focus on what matters, simplifying tasks, reducing noise across their daily work. Then from a data and platform perspective, this all ties into one Dynamics, one platform. We're really making it easier to access F&O data through Power Platform with better performance, less overhead, more automation. And then there's also a shift happening on the data side. So moving from export to data lake toward Azure Synapse Link for Dataverse. That gives you really a more unified real-time way to access data across Dynamics apps and keep existing integrations intact. So overall, more AI, tighter integration with M365, better user experience, and a more unified data platform. So all really incredible things we have to look forward to with this release wave. With that, that's all I've got for today.
Lots of great updates. There's good things coming, aren't there?
Absolutely.
And remind me, when are we expecting to get all of that to come to life?
Um,
Uh, is that
I
release 48 that's kind of forthcoming, or is that past that even?
it kind of a mix of release dates in there. There's not
Okay.
a, yeah,
It's not very consistent. Good enough.
yeah.
Well, good stuff. Thanks again, Lauren, for all your help, and thanks for those of you who are tuning in. And I think that'll wrap up today's DFF episode, and we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.